The Fandoms Anonymous podcast network is sponsored by McKelvey Insurance Group. If you've ever felt confused or overwhelmed by insurance, McKelvey Insurance Group keeps it simple. They're an independent agency, which means they compare options from multiple providers to find coverage that actually fits you, not just one provider's policy. There's no pressure and no jargon, just honest guidance and real help. Call Evan McKelvey at 618-623-0080 or reach out to us at Fandoms Anonymous and we'd be happy to connect the dots. They will save you money and they'll save it for you in less than 24 hours. Call Evan. This episode of Needed to Hear That is brought to you by Light Source. What do we need when we're in the dark? Sometimes it's simply just a light source. Beautiful weather out there.
Yeah, it's a good day to be inside, warm studio.
Sure. With the
windows blacked out.
Windows blacked out.
Yeah.
I am excited to be with you. Schedule-wise, we have the most consistent show on the network. Not to the fault of the other shows, but for instance, we record on a Monday night. It releases on Friday. I think sometimes people are interested on how the sausage is made. Not everybody. And no big deal. It's just how we do it. You usually work. Mondays are busy. One of your busiest days of the week, which I always question that.
This makes it the busiest day of the week. Because
sure.
Monday looks like every other day.
But sometimes you go till 7.
Yeah. I don't always go till 7.
But when we started doing this, I'm like, okay, well, Monday night's good for both of ours, probably because we both have a lot of irons in the fire.
As you've been told.
And I'm tired of hearing it. So when we do this at 7 or 7:30 on a Monday night, it's after I record PA. Mm-hmm. Typically record PA on Monday nights 5:30 to, or sometimes now we can start a little earlier, 5, which has been great because it gets us out a little earlier. But if the guest can't make it, cancels, or would rather do our Friday recording slot when we typically do PAFO, then we'll flip-flop. Mm-hmm. So we just got done with the PAFO, and on the previous Friday, we had NWO superstar Buff Bagwell on Fandoms Anonymous. Almost 4 years clean from alcohol. He liked those somas. And I think other pain pills. So doing good. He said that it started his last DDP really helped save his life.
Big yoga guy, that DDP.
And he's kind of a white whale. I'd love, talk about getting on him and Jimmy Montgomery, the head coach.
Sure.
I'd love to get on Fandoms Anonymous. But Buff was fun. He was in town for a wrestling event. And I won't nerd out on wrestling too much, but it was neat, this Fan Fest on Friday night and Saturday that they put together. It's a local promotion, SICW, Southern Illinois Championship Wrestling. The two people that run it, the main guy, Herb Simmons, has been doing this for probably a lifetime before I was born, and still. And he got inducted to the St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame. And so at this... we're talking wrestling at the Chase with all the guys back when it was really popular here in St. Louis. Apparently, St. Louis is, you've heard of Bob Orton, Randy Orton's dad. All these, they always would come through, Ric Flair, and all these legends. He had 60, Greg the Hammer Valentine was there. He wasn't super thrilled to be there by the picture we took. He didn't seem super happy. Somebody might want to do a wellness check.
Sure.
Buff Bagwell, but there was JBL.
Sure.
The old Bradshaw, John Bradshaw. He was a world champion in WWE.
Sure, he had a belt.
Demolition.
Okay. Powers
of Pain. And then there were newer guys like Carlito who just retired. He spit the apple.
Mm-hmm.
But they had 60. They had people, and talk about accessibility. Like kids, there were kids there that love wrestling. a lot of grown-ups that love wrestling.
That'll happen.
The people watching was for sure an entertainment spectacle in and of itself for my viewing pleasure. But there were so many. I will tell you, there were a lot of parents there with their kids, and one couple in particular came with their kid who was in a wheelchair and special needs, and you should the look on his face of meeting these guys. And we were talking about this at the table because Pontus Anonymous sponsored a table, had IRC stuff, we had underground stuff. It's something about, it's kind of like comic book guys coming to life.
Oh, sure.
Meeting these wrestlers and their personalities and who they are on the camera, and they're not, they really, I mean, it was packed. It was packed of people at that hotel. And Buff had a pretty cool story. We spent some time with him. Interesting guy for sure. Grew up, I think, a star athlete is what he said in Georgia, playing football, got into drugs early. But if you remember those Monday Night Wars in 2000, I mean, it was appointment television on Monday night. You watch Raw, Nitro, and they like skyrocketed in fame. And, that can be good and bad. But we were talking before the show about, you had mentioned strongman. I'm talking like what Buff was saying. There were no drug tests.
Yeah.
And if they were laughable because everybody was doing it.
You got to get a call ahead of time.
Right. Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Just so you know, you might want to grab your grandma's urine.
Yeah. I think, talking about the kids stuff, I had a really cool experience years ago. I saw Cyndi Lauper play at the pageant. And
the girls want to have fun, girl.
Yeah. And there were an incredible amount of like parents there and their kids, dressed like Cyndi Lauper,
Really, yeah.
Cool, like just like wild style. And Cyndi Lauper loved it, and she was great live, and she was in the crowd a lot, and she sounded amazing, and it was a cool experience.
Yeah.
When kids are just having a blast and just like not kind of interrupted by life being difficult or
Sure.
it's cool. And I mean, you and I have made a couple of comments on here about me speaking at a conference that Flavor Flav was at. At the end of the day, Flavor Flav was in Public Enemy.
That's
like respect, right? Like, there's still a lot
more than surreal life.
Yeah, you look at all of the wrestlers that were there. I mean, how many 50, 60, 75,000
Mick Foley
spaces?
was the headliner.
Yeah, I mean, Mick Foley's great.
I mean, so Friday night, instead of having matches, it was the one-man show. His does a stand-up routine, and like from what I mean, he's not a raunchy comic. He tells some funny stories. He had a lady up there he was interviewing. I don't know if it was his mom or not, but it was. They sat down, they interviewed, and people were chanting Foley, and then to that point, there were people coming. He played famously the three different characters. They were coming dressed as the characters. We got a little personal meet and greet. He didn't want to shake hands, wanted a fist bump. He was conscious of those germs. I appreciate that. But boy, you want to talk about a guy that's took a beating.
Oh my God.
I mean, it may be scripted and everything, but I don't care who you are, getting thrown 20 feet through a table is.
Yeah. You'd feel it in the morning.
Like that tooth really did go up and through his nose. So it was a good time, man.
I didn't appreciate Dude Love enough at the time.
I want to do the dance for the camera.
Yeah, I didn't appreciate Dude Love enough at the time. That's like a real vibe that I was not respectful enough.
One Royal Rumble, he entered all three.
Yeah,
he came as Mankind, Cactus Jack.
Yeah, I didn't respect all of them. I like that Mankind.
Yeah, and we talked about it with Bagwell. The rise and fall of like WCW, and Monday Night Raw was taped. And the night that Mick Foley was going to win the championship, Tony Schiavone, the announcer for WCW, said they just made Cactus Jack their champion. That's what's going on. So if you're thinking about changing the channel, you're not going to want to stay here. And all it did is make everybody change the channel. We'll go watch that historic moment. And that was one of the peak, the falls, blunders.
Yeah.
And that backfired. So it was cool to kind of relive all that. I mean, we used to play cards on Monday nights and obviously get shit-faced at a young age and watch the Monday Night Wars. And then those N64 wrestling games came out, which were, what's the kids say? They slapped.
Yeah, they were good.
They were fun games. And you could be-buff Bagwell and just sit there and pose in the corner.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you got your energy built up
Yeah,
to
yeah,
get the
get that
special
health bar
move.
back. Yeah, yeah. Get your ultimate.
And the last thing I'll say is he didn't spare any details on his amputee. He's an amputee from the knee down.
Yeah.
Showed us a picture of the severed leg with the bone hanging out of it, and I can't unsee that.
Yeah, before you release that episode.
Yeah.
Not a terrible idea to have a little disclaimer that there might be some content that is not for the squeamish.
Trigger warning.
Yeah. I've talked to, I won't say, yeah, I mean, a trigger warning, I won't go into detail here. I've talked a little bit about the sports injury I had on my chest. And whenever I lead with like the injury and what happened, I feel bad if I'm a little reckless with it and I see the room go, oh gosh, and really like,
all day
not enjoying it. And it's just like, I try to not be reckless for that exact reason that it is describing something bad happening. And that's not great.
That episode dropped this morning. We might have to go back because he talked about his leg, obviously. Before that, he had broke his neck in the ring. Talked about that vividly. Before that, he had calf implants that resulted in compartment syndrome on both legs, and how that all went down. That was tough to... Yeah, there was quite a bit.
And for anybody out there listening, this is an opportunity for you to appreciate and needed to hear that. Where we're not going to do that.
No. In fact, we're going to talk today
we're
about...
We're going to slow the pace down a little bit. I feel a lot of the Buff Bagwells of the world move a little too fast for me. So
did have a good finisher, that Buff Blockbuster.
Yeah, I slow things down a bit.
Said he learned that move in a hotel room.
Oh, good.
Speaking of fast pace,
I will say one. You had mentioned some of the people who looked more or less excited to be there. They're one good story and then one kind of funnier story. A good story is, speaking of like people showing up and getting autographs and meeting people, years ago, my friend Lindsay and I went to Anime Con in St. Charles.
Oh boy.
And I love that stuff. I'm an all around nerd.
Comic book.
I read comic books and
watch some wrestling.
Wrestling's objectively entertaining. There's
you like that Rhea Ripley?
Yeah, I like Rhea Ripley. I'm trying to think who else I like. I do like that Randy Orton.
You like Roman Reigns?
Well, yeah, I do. I do.
A lot
like
of people
that.
do.
I do like the OTC is a good. It's a good thing to say. It's a good line. It's a great.
A lot of people really like.
It's a great line. But Lindsay and I played a video game together called Overwatch. And one of the voice actors from Overwatch was at AnimeCon. So she kind of texted me right ahead of time. It was like, "Do you want to go to AnimeCon tomorrow and meet Johnny Cruz," I believe is the guy's name, who's the voice of Lucio, one of the healers on the game. That's why I play the game.
Of course, you're
I like
to
be a support. Yeah, right. I like to be support. I like to be a healer. That's my role. I really,
sweet little Gloria's
I really love playing support. And so we go out there, and I had never been to a con before. I'd never been to a convention before, and almost immediately, as you see all the kind of messages of different animes, the stories in different anime, the people that were there, the kids, the teenagers that were there, I, as a therapist, immediately clock, like, I'm home, right? Like, these are people that want to talk about their feelings and the stories in their lives and what they go through, and maybe in people that feel like very outside and unseen, and so it was like great. I mean, I immediately felt this great sense of home, and then we go up to Johnny Cruz, and he was incredibly kind, like just like and he was doing a lot of like fun stuff where, he's not only is he doing the voice a lot, right? He's a voice actor, but people would come up and say, "My gosh, my sister like loves the game and always plays Lucio, but she couldn't come today or she wasn't feeling good," and he'd be like, "Well, let's call her."
No way.
And he'd call people. He called a few people while we were in line, just as Lucio, as the character, and it was. I mean, he was a great sport about everything. And we were talking to him and the guy that was kind of with him there, that was like selling posters or whatever, and said something about being a therapist. And the guy who was with him was like, man, if I didn't have a therapist in high school, I don't know that I would have made it out of high school.
No shit.
And it was just like a great kind of like, oh, I really do feel good here. These are like my people, like, and we had something signed by him, and I said, well, I'm going to put it in my office as a space of healing. I want to have like a little symbol of a healer in there. And he was very kind about that. He wrote something really sweet on it. And he's like, man, I didn't think I'd have like that kind of impact. Like, it's kind of a cool thing to think that it would be like it's actually going to be in a therapy office. And I've had it for a long time, but it was a cool vibe to see those kind of communities build and spaces build, and people that don't always feel particularly seen go somewhere and just feel very home. I now know more about kind of that world where there are a lot of people that plan. If it's a 4-day event, they go out there and they stay in the hotel, even if they're local, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, even if the convention's going to be in St. Charles, they're going to go and stay in the hotel, save up their money to go and just be there. There's all kinds of like breakout sessions and panels and all that stuff at those conventions. So just like the event that you were at, it's a lot of interviews, a lot of people talking, meeting a lot of different people, and it's a cool feel. It was a great event. I would not hesitate to go.
The word that comes to mind is community.
Yeah. It's a great community.
And one of the things, we had a guy on a couple weeks ago, a friend of mine, Charlie Marlowe, who on PAFO, he used to be a sports reporter, Channel 2, was on the radio, sports talk radio shows, and now has really found his niche doing podcasting and YouTube videos for Kenny Wallace on NASCAR. He never really grew up as a diehard NASCAR guy, but it's kind of taken off and been pretty successful. But what he was telling me, he's like, if I could do what I wanted to do, he mentioned doing like a history YouTube show, podcast, because he loves history. And he's like, I looked at the YouTube page for NASCAR, and they have 1.3 million subscribers. And he asked, what do you think is more popular, NASCAR or WWE? And we were all thought about it, probably WWE. He went to WWE, which is wrestling, for those probably that don't. I'm thinking of, Haley may not know what WWE. She probably does.
She's with
if
us
she
enough.
ever makes it home.
Yeah, she's with us enough.
Seems on a never-ending trip per her Instagram story. God bless her, having the time of her life.
Always.
WWE's subscriber count on YouTube is 103 million, probably, I think is what he said. That's 100 times more than NASCAR. And then when we were talking about it at this convention, NASCAR has never really, I think, been mistaken as the most diverse audience, the customer base.
Fair.
In probably horrific ways. But you can't say that about WWE, at least today, especially. I'm sure it had its issues.
Sure.
With diversity, but
and with ownership.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah. Wrestling.
Yeah.
But at these conventions are everybody of ages, of females, males, everybody. Color didn't matter. It was, kids. It was a diverse. Anybody can be included if it's their cup of tea.
Well, the wrestlers have always been beloved. That's kind of always been the discussion, right? That even as the way the business is run has been more and more exposed, or has caught more flack for good reason, of course. you know, you still see like very successful GoFundMe's for Jake the Snake.
Sure.
Who, you know, didn't
whale.
have a lot, coming out of a career that wrecked his body and needed a lot of help.
They weren't getting 401ks.
Yeah, you know, well, they're contractors.
Right.
You know, that was always the knock is they're at the end of the day 1099s, right? Like, I think
it may have gotten maybe getting worse with TKO being involved, but
yeah, I mean, I don't know, but yeah, it's the community that shows up is pretty incredible, and I think that, I don't know, you and I are on here all the time talking about like find your people and find your community, and I walked into an anime convention and I'm like, my God, this is great for a therapist. Like, I want to speak on a panel here. Like, you know, I am somebody that gives an incredible amount, all the energy I can to the idea of like be creatively connected to what you're feeling in the moment. And being there was like, oh, I'm here. This is it. This is a great example of that. The funny story, I've told you before, but we've talked about Gabor Mate on here a few times. And a hero of mine wrote The Realm of Hungry Ghosts and The Myth of Normal. And I have seen him speak a few times, and he's captivating. He's an incredible presenter. No notes, like no slides, no nothing. He just kind of gets going. He's got some pretty I would say he's got some pretty world-class ADHD that he cops to. I'm not amateur diagnosing. But that leads to him being a very captivating speaker that'll still check his phone. But
did you clock that? I got one message.
No, he did that on stage. I've seen him do it. Okay. But I've met him a couple of times. And he is incredibly gracious, right? He's very, very sweet. I've talked to him.
Gabor Mate sounds like a name of some ancient, you know, Genghis Khan.
It's a cool name,
right?
It's a cool name
from the 1300s.
Anybody that doesn't know, first name is Gabor, Gabor, and then his last name is Mate, Mate,
with the accent.
Yeah, with an accent aigu.
That's French high school, right there.
Yeah, and so he, I one of the times I met him. You know, at this point he's in his 80s, and he's kind of a little guy, and I talked to him, and he was, like I say, he was very gracious, and you know, I told him how much he'd impacted my career, and then I asked him something I don't do very frequently, is I said, you know, can I get a picture with you? And he's like, yeah, sure. And so the woman standing next to us, I said, can you take a picture? And she's like, oh my gosh, absolutely. And so I stand there, and I'm, you know, like a, you know, big lumbering guy with a big smile on my face. I'm so excited to be there with Gabor Mate.
Sounds like me with Miss November 99.
And I'm like, all right, man, I appreciate you. And I shake his hand, and I go to grab my phone, and the woman that took the picture, she looks at me and she goes, one of you looks much more excited to be in that picture than the other one. and that picture didn't see the light of day. It's not his fault at all. I mean, God knows what kind of traveling he was doing. I can't even begin to explain how kind he was, but I looked in this picture, and it was just like there's nowhere on earth that he would want to be less than right there in that moment. And I'm standing next to him like I captured him. Like, it's just, and I'm like, all right, well, that one's for the archives.
That sounds like Greg the Hammer Valentine, man.
Still my hero, though. Still one of my heroes.
Shout out to Gabor Mate.
Yeah, worth a read.
You you were talking about the anime convention, and I want to get to being stuck here, something you kind of was on your heart tonight. But I've talked to you before, and you got to meet Tanner, who's been helping behind the scenes with the podcast network and stuff. Victory's business partner, who helped us, if you remember, with like World of Vesser was their thing.
Love that World of Vesser.
And
I
it's
listen to those podcasts.
Still working on it. It's, you know, a tabletop role playing game that they're creating, you know, online basically, in a whole new world and storytelling. And they get, you know, Tanner's quote to me is the other day is that the two things that he doesn't use the word hate. The two things that he wants to attack the most or despises the most, and I'm paraphrasing, is loneliness, because there's nothing but these online communities have like tabletop role-playing game communities can really attack loneliness.
Yeah.
And he also can't stand toxic masculinity. So Tanner's your guy.
Yeah, I don't mind Tanner.
You'll love to meet him.
Yeah.
But I was thinking about that as you were talking about those conventions, because those types of communities are out there. I mean, even in the wrestling, you got guys showing up with the strap. I mean, they got the title and.
Well, speaking of the tabletop games, or in like, somebody I've mentioned on here a couple of times is our buddy Nick out in Maine, and Nick is also a guy that is a DM for Dungeons and Dragons. And he's walked Holly and I and Maddie, his wife Maddie, through a wonderful campaign. And
I remember when you started.
I can't begin to tell you how just like disarming it is. And to know, like, Nick does all the setup behind the scenes, right? He's writing out different options. He plans everything. He prepares what we're going to do. We don't know. He's doing this for us. He's also like incredibly, he knows that we're not experienced in, like, so he makes sure that it's a pretty gentle experience. We're not going to suddenly just like die and our character can't come back, or like there's just this real warmth to his approach that is very therapeutic, because he's trying to make an experience for us and a story for us so that we feel part of something. And if we're trying to work on something on our own, right, you pick these characters and these traits and these different ideas because because you want to, right, you want to walk through a story and see how it plays out. And there's massive communities around that stuff, and they're dependent on people like Nick, who is an incredible space holder. Like, you feel safe, like sitting there on a Friday night for 4 hours with Nick and Maddie on Zoom. Yeah, while he walks us through a campaign and some mission and some fight and something that we got to do and choices we have to make. And he does an incredible job of making us feel like very safe and like everything's just going to be fun and nothing's going to go too wrong. That's an incredible art that a lot of people who, when they try to think about creating a space or creating community, that you got to have one of those somewhere. You got to have somebody that is going to be able to hold the space. And that doesn't have to be a therapeutic thing. That's also somebody that is organized enough to get 40 wrestlers in a conference hall. Sure. Like that's somebody that is able to put on a massive anime con and organize things. I mean, when we go to North Carolina, we talk all the time about the conference, right? Well, at these conferences, the same people attend spring and fall, right? Yeah. There's an incredible amount of overlap because of the experience. Right, because they feel safe. Yeah, you get a really good, safe, predictable experience. Build community. Yeah. And so,
I want to go.
Yeah, of course.
I invite myself.
Yeah, I mean, God willing, there's just going to be
make sure Charlie brings his phone.
PA like live.
Yeah,
at the APNC conference for sure.
We'll do at least PA and needed to hear that. You might want to leave PAFO back at home.
Yeah, well, you might be able to get a couple of PAs.
Sure,
that's the hope. Is there's speakers galore.
And to that point, I want to start. We talked about this. We both want to start opening it. Needed to hear that up. For some guests. We were talking before we got on with a mutual friend, Matt Bowersox, who wants to come on. Yeah. And I told him at coffee, like, it's going to be hard for me not to say anything. Because I, obviously don't like to shut up and sometimes love to hear the sound of my own voice. But I do, in all honesty, want to just hear the two of you chop it up. I'll learn some shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's a pioneer in the space.
Yeah. A great mind.
You taught him, and he reveres you. So.
Yeah, he knew everything he needed to know by the time he met me, so it doesn't matter.
And he was a big winner on Saturday night. We didn't win a thing at our table.
No, we had a slow night.
Music Bingo was shout out to Shelly and for her son Nick Wilson Foundation raised money in Nick's name to scholarship provide sober living opportunities for people in recovery, and had a fun Music Bingo night. Most of us. Charlie seemed to be a little bit not wanting to be there. He was 12, but
a 12-year-old only had 3.5 hours in the tank of sitting in a Music Bingo before he was a little bit done.
but there was raffles. Little Jax was running around getting all the food off the tables. But it was a fun night. And Matt and those guys were there, and he was a big winner. He won something. I remember. I forget what it was, but he won.
The table won a couple of like attendance prizes, and it was great.
We got to watch those guys win things.
Yeah, we were right next to him. Yeah, always a bridesmaid.
Never the bride. Yeah, but tonight you mentioned something about, and I appreciate just shooting the shit a little bit too. But
of course, always
something about feeling stuck and and how we get. It's like we just aren't super patient with ourselves.
Yeah,
and I wanted you to unpack that a little bit for those that listen to the show.
Well, it's just been kind of on my mind because I take in an awful lot of material about both therapy and religion and spirituality that I gravitate towards an awful lot of things that remind us that things don't necessarily go away, right? Like grief isn't something that ends, for instance. I take in an awful lot of discussion about like we kind of have to slow things down, some of the pressure that we put on ourselves. And in all of that is this kind of language surrounding like being stuck, which is something that you hear and feel a lot in therapy. I'm sure also in recovery, also in religion and spirituality spaces. And so it's definitely been on my mind. I had mentioned the last time we talked, I'd been revisiting a lot of the work of Thomas Moore, who's a Jungian therapist in Chicago. And he speaks pretty eloquently about like, there's no such thing as stuck, right? Like there is no, like he's pretty vocal about like the whole concept of, well, there's a problem here with me as a human and I'm stuck in my ability to resolve it. Rests on this idea that you have to fundamentally change something about yourself to resolve this stuckness. And we really can't afford to rest on the idea that there's something broken within us at any given moment that is why we can't figure it out, get something right, get over it, move past it, move on.
Get over it.
You know, that kind of stuff is heartbreaking to me. And I think that a lot of it comes down to just we get so deeply impatient with ourselves and we worry. I've experienced this even with meditation where to go back to, you start meditating, you start practicing a spiritual practice, and you constantly feel like you want to advance. You want to do the next thing. You want to, like you don't want to keep doing the same thing because now it's too simple.
And it's not my, wish I could. I think I could. I wish I would allocate more time.
Don't criticize yourself. It's not going to help you.
But that sounds counterintuitive to meditation, and that's what people like. It sounds, you know what I mean? What I'm saying is meditation seems like embracing kind of the stuckness.
Yeah. That's the perfect way to phrase it, right? It's kind of the idea of, if you're 50 miles into a 100-mile walk, you don't want to turn around. You're still going to have to keep going, right? But there's one of the times when I was sitting with a Zen teacher, and I wouldn't be surprised if this person was a plant because it was such a great setup. But we sat, and it was Zen meditation is very austere. It's very simple. It's no frills. It's kind of staring at the wall with a very specific posture. And basically, there was a point where a person asked the teacher if there was any recommendation that he had for more advanced practitioners and not just the beginner guidance that he had given to start this session, which, like I said, is a perfect setup because he looked right at her and he just said, "We're all beginners."
Locked and loaded.
Yeah, and it is something where the point of the concept of beginner's mind, right? Like speaking of like really getting outside of stuckness, part of feeling stuck is you have this sense that what you need to do next, or you know what you shouldn't be doing anymore, right? There's a sense of like knowing. There's a sense of this confidence in something being particularly wrong with you or with what's going on, that kind of goes in the face of a beginner's mind, right? That presumes the mind of an expert. That's the shorthand for that is always, in the mind of the expert, the options are few, and the mind in the beginner, the options are many.
I like that.
And so there's this kind of idea where you start looking for a beginner's mind. A beginner's mind isn't just this kind of childlike wonder of taking everything in. It's also, there's a lot of compassion that we want from being a beginner, right? You don't, the pressure of expertise is not there.
It's like I envy that mind and envy that even childlike mind sometimes.
Yeah. It's deeply necessary. I think I just feel bad when I see somebody becoming really, really impatient with themselves.
Yeah, you mentioned that when we were talking about what to talk about tonight. But you see it. I mean, that's.
We all get there, right? I mean, like you and I talk like even, body image stuff and everything where, that there's no bottom to that well. There's always this kind of moving target of there will be a point where I will feel better as long as I do A, B, or C. And I fall for it every time.
I don't want to compare you to Buff Bagwell. But you look great. And I don't mean body image wise. He was known for having this physique that guys wanted and girls desired, if you will. And he said it. That's why he got calf implants, because he could never. He was chasing that bottomless well, as you're saying. He had body image issues, and here we look at him and like, you got body issues.
There is you can find a kind of subcategory of body shaming in the bodybuilding world because of people that specifically have small calves. It's a thing. I mean, that's like an actual thing.
And he said that's a genetic thing.
That's the whole point.
Muscle.
Yeah.
You have to, like, I have a calf. I think of the one good thing about me is maybe my calf definition, and I thought it was because I was a hockey player, but it's Tom's calves. And just we can't help it. We're hot, and get those calves. But
that's what they always said about those pond off,
right? Men. That's right. But it's what he said is that you could be and do all the legs and everything, but your calf definition isn't.
Nope. Yeah.
So we had to go get implants.
I've heard Schwarzenegger talk about being like disappointed and disgusted by his like aging body, which I can't add a lot of context to that. I haven't heard some long form interview about it, and I understand that everybody kind of struggles with changes in their body, but as a therapist, I just feel, as a compassionate being, I feel an incredible sadness for that thought of 70-something Arnold Schwarzenegger still struggling to be 70-something. That's still hoping for. I mean, it's just very human of him to admit it, right? It's not. I don't think it's. I don't know him. I don't know his heart, of course, but there is something. That is a great example when we strive and we cling and then we get to a point of feeling stuck. Now, the thought of saying that you feel stuck as kind of shorthand for, I think I might want to do something a little bit different is fine. The thought of I am feeling stuck because I don't think that my advancement or my problem resolution is not occurring the way that I wanted to. That's just self-criticism, right? It's there is kind of, to think that you are not a human in motion is always wrong, right? We are always changing and shifting. We don't stop thinking, so our mind is moving relatively quickly.
All night, every night.
Yeah. And it's just, I mean, that was one of the aspects, one of the not supernatural ways that reincarnation was taught to me was the discussion of how like reincarnation wasn't always life after life. That's its own spiritual, its own religious discussion. But that the Buddha taught this idea that reincarnation is something that happens. The cycle of death and rebirth happens to you every couple of minutes, every day, every decision. There is absolutely the manifestation of Chris Pondoff from Sunday, May 10th is dead.
Well, you said that at Underground when you spoke.
Yeah.
And it's still, Kevin Sack, God bless him, said it changed his life. He thinks about it every day.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, that's it. I can't go get music bingo Chaz. You know,
you were pretty ineffective. So.
Yeah, I did not have a good day. You know, and so that idea of being patient with ourselves is not. It's a weird thing. We equate patience with inactivity in a way that I've always been fascinated by, because I'm very fortunate. Like, I have been described as patient, as in, like,
sure.
You know,
yeah.
I've been criticized as patient.
The shoe fits.
And it's something where I even hear people say to me, I need to work on my patience. I wish I was more patient. And as a stated goal, that's fine. But you also think of, like, the roots of criticism that are in there too, where it's just like, already it's this, there's something about me that I don't like. There's no curiosity in that language right there. There's more criticism, right? Like, I need to be more patient. It's like, sure. I mean, again, I'm never going to criticize somebody having a binary statement in the direction of a goal, but I want some warmth and some softness around it.
You tell a story, and I won't get into the details. It's your story, but where you had to sit down with some people and lay out your life, and then say, I haven't made an impulsive decision in my life to lead you to this conclusion that you've arrived at.
Yeah.
Sorry for the tease out there, but are you familiar with that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's true that the it's not always my patience is not always complimented.
No.
But it is something where I have been very fortunate in the way that I have been afforded a life that had some intentionality to it. I've been able to stay with goals for whatever reason. I've been able to finish some things that I started, and all of those end up looking somewhat uninterrupted. And I think that that's like an easy thing. I've heard that countless times from people that are struggling with depression, where you start to, when you're depressed, you start to look around the world and go, oh man, everybody else is doing good. They got it figured out.
Especially if you look on that Instagram, baby.
Yeah, they got it figured out. And why am I stuck? Why am I struggling? And it's just like, there's of course, if we really wanted to unpack something that we could never get to the bottom of, we would talk about how comparison plays a role in stuckness. You know, how it's not so much that we feel stuck, it's that we'll start to feel stuck compared to either other people or compared to this idealized version of ourselves.
There's a saying out there that says comparison is the ultimate thief of joy.
Yeah, the thief of joy.
Right.
Compare and despair, as we say.
I see it, and what worries me, just it's the world I live is now in kids.
Sure.
And we had a trivia night a couple weeks ago, Megan Meyer Foundation, well. Nice little drive out to O'Fallon, Missouri the other night.
It's very humble of you to not take a plane.
Yeah. I keep telling Iggy, we got to talk to Tina. We got to move that a little closer, move that a little east.
Yeah.
But that is the kids now with the phones and the accessibility. I feel it used to be hard enough when we were kids, and now they have all this. It's just a new way of and how it's hard. Not how do you deal with it every day? How do you tell them not to compare to things that are facaded? If you unpack it, but comparison being to your point, not to interrupt you, but comparison being the thief of joy is. But I do it as an adult. Kids do it. I mean, that's why I know it's so dangerous, because it can really take you down talk about making you feel stuck, or not even stuck to your point where everybody's moving backwards, maybe.
Yeah. No, everybody does it. I mean, everybody compares in some form or fashion. There's a sense of comparison being somewhat necessary through the lens of like maintaining a society, right? Like we've got to somehow, some way have different expectations or standard bearers out there that we can look to as like, okay, we all need to fit within certain boundaries. The mind is just too powerful to stop that at a small level, so it's going to keep finding it, right? Like you think about how incredible the human mind is. The human mind can be like, I think my calves are too small. and then it's a fact.
And not stop.
Now it's a fact. And boy, I couldn't imagine the number of other people's calves that Buff Bagwell has noticed in the years prior to a calf implant. And that's not a critique. It's we all just kind of have that. We all just notice something.
Do you know those calves are now on the internet for sale?
Sure.
His implants.
Good.
He's actually signed them at a thing. So he had somebody had him sign his own calf implants.
Good.
Just for looking.
I respect the hustle.
Chaz, your calves are great.
I don't mind them. Of all the body image issues I can have, the calves are not one. So take the win.
I struggle calves up.
Yeah.
Personally.
Yeah. I think that the comparison piece is just so, it happens in any time somebody commits to, if you commit to something, you're going to have to work really hard to allow that something to be yours and to not get lost in comparison, right? Which that means the line there is like, are you capable of being self-compassionate or kind to yourself? Because you're going to, if you set a goal, if somebody sets the goal of being sober, by the time they got 3 days, right, they're looking around at who's got 10.
Yeah.
Then they're looking around at who's got 30. And then maybe they were in treatment. They get out of treatment. They're looking around at who's got 3 months, 6 months, a year, 10, 20, 30, immediately.
Sure.
And if that is something that is you're able to hold as inspiration or is even like possible, if you can see yourself in that, then you are, wow, that's a beautiful place to be. But if immediately it is a reminder of something that you lack, right, it creates suffering.
That's what you meant when you said the difference between criticism and curiosity.
Yeah.
If I'm looking at you and you made it 6 months sober and I'm on my first week in detox and you're smiling and I'm curious and I want that.
Yeah.
Like that's a curiosity. But if I get the comparison that, if I want, you can very easily, that can pivot to criticism. Now the light bulb's going off on what you said.
It's something where I've one of the things that I wrote about on my Substack one time, I think I've said on here before, is
how do you subscribe to this ad?
It's Find Your Light Source.
There you go.
So let's go to Substack and you'll find it. I wrote something about how like all your great parables happen inside every human, right? That there aren't, they're not stories that happened outside. They're stories that happen to all of us inside. And a not super deep religious one is the tortoise and the hare. Right? We all know the story of the tortoise and the hare.
Mm-hmm.
What we know it from being kids, right? And so we don't need to get into the deep symbolism when we're kids, right? It's just a matter of like slow and steady wins the race, right? But from how parables and mythology takes hold, we have to remember that the tortoise and the hare is a story that happens inside of us, right? Like we all have a part of us that is absolutely racing under the assumption that speed is the only thing that matters, and as long as we can get as much done as fast as possible, we will win. Which makes us lackadaisical in other things, right? It makes us kind of just not care about some other things. But also inside all of us is the tortoise that is willing to move slowly, that is not as concerned with the finish line, that understands the pace and the limitations of the moment, and sure enough still gets to the same finish line. That, like, another great story that happens inside the human heart is also the Bhagavad Gita, right? So these things are all the same, and so it's like, just like it's an old Hindu text, but like all of these old epics, right? Even the Odyssey and things, like all of these old epics are also things that represent what it's like to be a human. So when we get into committing to some kind of change, it's okay to just kind of recognize that both the tortoise and the hare are in there, right? Because, when you find something that really starts to light you up, and of course we've all seen this with spirituality, right? We've all seen it with people that start to meditate, or people that go to church, or born again, or anything like that. All of a sudden there's this like, well, I want all of it. And I not only do I want all of it, I want to identify with it. I want it to be who I am. I want to be at a finish line, right? Like we get very hare.
Yeah. That's all right.
And we start to assume that the speed and completion of the act is the goal. Right. I am somebody that kind of believes in the old John Wooden, right? Like the process is the destination.
I was just thinking of those poor Atlanta Hawks that have been trusting the process for 30 years or so. Maybe that was the 76ers. Regardless, I kept thinking of the process being so important, and we're so quick to want to check that box and what's next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a tough thing. We're all gonna. That's what I mean. We're all gonna do both. Like none of this comes from a up on high, as far as I'm concerned. Right? Like I am also trying to skip to the end of the book in some things I'm doing, and very, very slow and patient and compassionate in other things that I'm doing. Right? All these things are unfolding in all of us at all times.
I've heard it in the rooms. Same thing with working 12 steps. That it's not about let's get the steps done as quickly as possible and get them over with. Like that's not how it works. And you would get done, you just start the steps over.
Yeah.
Or some guy I was talking with last Wednesday on Underground, and he's like, you know what? I was rushing through step 9, and I said, I got to sit with this for a while.
Yeah.
And it was probably Jeff Brenneman because he's wise as fuck.
Brilliant. Yeah.
He's like, and he's kind of pumped the brakes, and he's gonna sit in it. He's done it before, This is not a finish line. It's it's about the process.
Yeah, there's a an old Buddhist story. Like I've said, there's not a lot of new Buddhist stories, I guess, but where the student is essentially asked, maybe it was a king in this example, is asked that if you knew that a mountain was coming in from the east and it was just crushing everything in its path, and another mountain was coming in from the west and another mountain was coming in from the north, and you knew that from every direction these mountains were just rolling in and crushing everything in their path, what would you do? And the king said, well, I guess all I'd have left to do is practice the Dharma, right? Practice Buddhism. And then the teacher says, okay, well, their old age, sickness, and death are all rolling in from every direction, taking everybody one at a time, So what do you have left to do? And he said, well, I just practice the Dharma. There is a foundational piece of finding these practices that allow you to feel a little bit less of a sense of striving. Like it's perfectly okay. Everybody, another thing people talk about is like, I do read books, right? I like to read a little bit. And there is an aspect of my reading that creates striving and prevents practice. I could, I could experience more of my commitment to certain things if I just sat more. Right? But I really like to read. Yeah. I like to get more information, more, get another book, get another one in the cart, get it here. That doesn't really particularly come from a self-critical place, But I have definitely had teachers be like, there's not going to be anything new in that new book. Like, you got it.
Uh-huh.
And an example, I think the steps made me think of this, is everybody, I have a couple of these. Everybody has some classic cliched stories that they kind of eye roll when they hear them. One for me, this is, a moment of vulnerability because I shouldn't be eye rolling this. Every book that I read about Buddhism is going to have some section in it that says Siddhartha Gautama was born a prince in northern India and left his family behind after being exposed to old age, sickness, and death. And the story of the Buddha is going to be in every one of these books, right? Siddhartha's at home. He's got everything he's ever wanted. He is taken out of the palace where he has been protected his whole life. He sees someone aging. He sees someone sick. He sees a dead body. He can't believe this happens. Then he sees a monk or a mendicant, and he decides to run off into the woods and leave his palace. He starves himself out there to the point where he's almost dead because that was kind of the practices they were going through in the woods. And he recognizes that wasn't the path, that the middle path is probably a better way. And then he teaches the middle path until he dies in his 80s from food poisoning. So I have read some version of the paragraph that starts Siddhartha Gautama was a young prince in northern India countless times, to the point where I would skip it, right? I don't need to read the chapter or the book that's about Siddhartha as a prince born in the palace. I know it, right? But I don't, because I forget every day about old age, sickness, and death. I forget every day about being in the moment, right? Like, there is no amount of reading that story that is too much. Right? My eye rolling is this moment where it's the illusion of being stuck, right? It's the illusion of thinking that I'd better get more. I better get to the part of this that is going to feel like enough or make me feel like I know enough. And that is a form of just self-attack that I probably don't deserve. The other one, a buddy of mine, him and I used to always make fun of how often we would see the story of the two wolves. The two
bulls, the one
two wolves. No, not that one.
Okay.
We can leave that one alone.
Got it. Sorry.
The two wolves. Basically, it's the old story that culminates in the line of like well, Grandpa, which wolf wins? He's like, well, the one that you feed. Right, like the story that basically culminates in you have two wolves inside you fighting it out, and good wolf and bad wolf, or however you want to differentiate them. And then it's like, well, how are you going to know if they're so evenly matched? Well, it's like the one you feed, right? Like the thing you give the most attention to inside you is going to become the thing that can devour other things.
That's scary if you're feeding the wrong wolf.
Yeah, I've got a couple friends and I that we would see that anywhere and be like, here we go with these two wolves.
Here we go with all this fucking wisdom.
And it's like, oh wait, there is no amount of times that you could hear, hey, the aspects of your inner life that you end up really landing on and focusing on and giving the most attention to are probably going to be the things that have the strength to devour other things. You can't hear that enough.
Sure.
Right? Like, but you can't hear there's too many irons in the fire enough, right? Like,
right.
You're aware of it, right? So like if somebody were to come to me and say, Chaz, I was thinking the other day about this story about these two wolves, right? There's definitely a part of me that's going to be like, you better not hit me with the two wolves, bro. Like, I don't want to hear the wolves.
Poor Jill. I told her that night, I said, Jill, if I hear I have too many irons in the fire, and God, Jill's got Patrice climbing on her.
I love that Patrice.
I know, and I'm like, I just can't hear one more person tell me I have too many irons in the fire. And she's like, well, you have too many irons in the fire.
Right. Yeah. Looks like you can hear one more person tell you.
And God damn it, Patrice looked at me and I could read her. She didn't say it, but I could read what she was thinking. You got too many
irons in the fire.
Look at me.
Yeah.
She was saying, you're not even looking at me. Like,
don't have a care in the world. No, yeah, it's that is that kind of what can be an illusory version of stuckness, right? I think that there are a lot of times where, like I said, it's perfectly okay if you declare a sense of feeling stuck or a sense of, I just don't know what to do with this next. But, you also know that a lot of your kind of wisdom traditions are going to be like, well, maybe you should try being stuck a little longer, right? Like there's going to be some kind of playful, kind of pithy version of it that's going to say, iron. Yeah, that's going to, the paradoxical intent of things. But I just think that I'm very guilty of it. There's just kind of a striving. I see people commit to something and then mostly commit to the finish line of something. We talk about in I think I've said before in treatment planning, when you're setting goals up, if somebody's, starting therapy or in treatment or something like that, you don't want to sign off on too many what we call dead man's goals. You don't want to sign off on things that
doesn't sound like something anybody should be signing off.
You don't want to sign off on something that you don't accomplish until you're gone, right? Like you don't want to only be like, well, I just want to be sober for the rest of my life.
Sure.
Yeah, that's great. That's great, right? Like that's great. We really got to break that one down because there's only one way to achieve that one, and that's when you're done. When you're done. And so we try to be mindful of that, but I think that there's just so many times where, people will say that they feel stuck. And now I do think that there's some real accuracy that can come up to stuckness in grief, because I think that people will start to feel a sense of like, oh, I need to do something. And I always want to explore the doing something more through the lens of like, well, that's a perfectly good goal if we can be kind, if we can be curious, if we can be compassionate, if we can find some patience in it, right? Then maybe it is like, a classic example of it is like in grief, I might have somebody who tells me that they really want to start thinking about like going to a group.
Sure.
But the moments of maybe I'm ready to go to a group are sometimes quite a few before group, right? It's usually just kind of shorthand for like, maybe I need to do something. I'm feeling more ready to do something.
I feel like it's like when you said that, there's the same amount of numbers between 1 in affinity and 0 and 1. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it could be the statement and getting to the group for that individual could be a long journey.
Yeah. Yeah. Cause I think, I'm very conscious in this conversation of knowing that I'm using this term stuck as something that I hear as the occasional veiled self-criticism. And I know that there are plenty of times where I'm stuck and I need to kind of snap out of it, can be like a huge growth edge, right? So it's not a critique of the concept, right? Like, if somebody says like, I feel really stuck at this job, right? Like that is usually just the language behind, I got to figure something out. This sucks.
I feel like that's feeding the wrong wolf. Like in that case, I know a lot of people that say that are so terrified and paralyzed by any unknown that they'll continue to feed the wrong wolf using that parable.
Well, the unknown, I mean, even if somebody, if somebody's in therapy and they're feeling stuck and they say like, I think I need to just get another therapist. It's like, yeah, that could really help, right? Like it's a different perspective. It's not a knock on your process. Maybe it's hopefully not critical of yourself for, I've been working on the same thing for a long time and I'm not getting anywhere. Like a little bit of a state of the union is great, right? Like, that can be really, really helpful. But, when you're thinking about entering into the unknown, the thing that kind of like knocks you into the unknown, you don't want it to be like veiled self-hatred. You don't want it to be like, I'm really screwing up and I'm tired of making these same old mistakes and now I need to go out there and do something different, where it's like we like that as a shorthand, right? We like that as kind of like an afterword, Right. I think a lot of us in hindsight love a story that's like, well, I just decided I couldn't put up with that crap anymore and I wasn't going to do it the same way and I made the change. And it's like, boy, I bet that's a longer story, bud. You know? And so it's like I said, like it's a little bit, like I said, I'm a little self-conscious of like, I don't want anybody to hear the concept of stuckness as like, you're never stuck.
Well, let me ask you this, because I was, as we've been talking about stuck, I've been having the back and forth, because I do think is in recovery and some other aspects of life that complacency cannot be great, but I view those two as very different.
I do too, yeah, because I think that there's also. I had a great friend of mine who I'm sure does not want me to mention their name.
Ashley.
But Ashley is a great friend.
I usually.
But
just about every show.
But I had a conversation with somebody about like
too hard to like.
Why is complacency so bad? Because it was just a discussion of like there's so many moments where people are self-critical and under the assumption that they have to find the next thing and do the next thing and grow and expand and learn something new, and that being in a space where you don't want to do any of that is considered a lot of times bad. Like if I were think about if you have a board of directors at a nonprofit and you go into that board of directors and say
you're on one.
And you say, as the CEO, you say we want to serve the same amount of people or maybe a few less and just get a little bit better at what we're doing next year, right? Like that's the beginning of the end of your career. Bingo. Reporting to that board of directors. But if you were to go in year after year and say we had a great year and we're going to expand the following ways, right? You can write your ticket to retire from that space. There are versions of that clearly are fine. But as individuals, we feel that same pressure, right? Like if we do the same, if you do the same thing for, I don't know, maybe God forbid, multiple years, and you enjoy it and you are maybe even good at it and you are connected to it, you are still going to get feedback about how long can you do that. And if you were to say every 90 days that you are doing something different or working on a new project or expanding a new thing, people are going to be like, man, great. Awesome. And of course I'm a Buddhist, so the middle path, sure. Right? Like there is whichever allows you to cling less to these attachments that things have to be different, is the middle path. And so I think that complacency is a great example of that, where for some people becoming complacent, which has of course, obviously has a meaning behind it, a connotation behind it, that you are just becoming maybe too comfortable, which is an incredibly funny Western idea, right? Like you were just notice that you've become too comfortable. You are not.
You need some stress.
Yeah, you need something that is going to push you to the next phase.
Trauma on you.
Yeah, I see it with as therapists, we learn a lot of modalities, right? We learn models of therapy that are all. I don't know. I love therapy, so I think all the models are great, right? Sure. Like you're not gonna you're not gonna really, if you get into the nuts and bolts of a modality of therapy, you're not going to find something there that is just like creating more and more suffering, right? Whether it's something that is very like overtly structured and organized, like a cognitive behavioral therapy or dialectical behavioral therapy, or things that are more abstract and kind of open-ended, right. Non-directive. No matter what, they all have their roots in alleviating suffering. Mm-hmm. But as therapists, we learn a model and then we very quickly start thinking of the next model we need to learn.
Right.
Or you learn a model and you start thinking of the next part of that model that you have to hone, or the next training that you have to go to. This is a beautiful thing because its roots are alleviating suffering. But for some people, the roots are a deep concern that the information they have and who they are is not going to be enough. And so the worry of I'd better get more and do more or I'm never going to be enough is the kind of stuckness that I'm talking about.
That's problematic, man.
Yeah, is the kind of stuckness that I'm talking about, right? I've done this for a couple of years. I would like a new challenge. What's next is not a difficult. There's not a bad stuckness, right? Like that's fine.
The complacency that I worry about on the flip side is when it's used in context with a potential abusive situation
Sure.
where, whether it's in a relationship or even in work settings, that there is that too comfortable because you're that change and that unknownness and that mystery out there so scary that it paralyzes someone into what can be really dangerous situations. But to me, that's where when we say complacency kills, it's usually in a business setting, to your first point. But then I think about and it's probably being used wrong. Like that's a different kind of. I mean, there's some bad actors out there that can really hone in and they finessed ways to make you feel stuck and complacent in certain situations that improves their setting. So I'm not trying to blame a victim here is what I'm getting at.
But there's a piece of why it's like I say, like why it's kind of been on my heart a little bit is I am more interested in or attuned to the moment that somebody feels particularly stuck, and it is because they don't have access to see some of the important things that they are doing, and that access maybe being blocked internally,
sure.
But or externally, right? Because circumstances matter. But overall, it's that, one of the things that I have a lot of faith in, especially in therapy or, when I get to sit with people, I have a lot of faith in the fact that if somebody feels stuck in that way, in that like, oh my gosh, I'm not doing enough, or I need to be different, or there's something just kind of broken about me and I don't get it, that we will find a way in which they are growing. That we will find a way in which movement is occurring. And that's that golden thread, right? Like we're going to grab that thread, right? That's the one that we're going to follow. Because there's a point where we can become a little blind to our own growth and to some of the incredible stuff that we're doing. Especially when, if somebody starts the process with feeling depressed and like I've said on here before, right? Some people will say, gosh, I said I was going to do this, that, or the other. I haven't done any of it this week. And it's like, okay, but you're here.
Right. You're like a great window pane into someone's, they're not able to see any, what we call progress. Or I almost think of like reading mentor sitting down with kids in like a literacy type project that you're helping them see. They may be looking at it, they may be staring at themselves in the mirror, but they're not like literate yet and what you see, and you see that progress, and you see that you're here, you got out of bed today, and when chronic depression sets in, that's fucking monumental.
I think of whenever
warrior shit,
whenever people pursue any kind of commitment to their inner life, there's a point where stuckness, this idea, will kind of come in, and it assuredly means that you kind of are struggling to access that stream of growth that's always there. That assuredly there is something growing and changing within you that you just don't feel right now. And the thing that we try to figure out is, how do you establish a strong connection to that, right? So that way, anytime you start to feel stuck, you naturally gravitate towards the discussion of like, well, wait, like where is this moving, right? Like where is this kind of water made the mountains kind of thing, right? Like what is something that is just kind of steadily brushing up against a side somewhere and wearing the walls down a little bit. It's there, right? Like it's there. The idea of stuck implies this complete lack of movement. And if I'm sitting with somebody, I'm never going to believe that nothing's moving. I'm not going to believe that. But if I have to hold that belief for somebody while they can't hold it for themselves, I'll honorably do that, right? I'll do that however I can. And I think we can do that across any kind of relationship. My most familiar one is therapeutic, but just believing that the people in your life, when they feel like there's no direction that they can move, that you see that something is moving, right? Like bearing witness to the idea that something is moving. That way, when this language of stuck comes up, you can at least hold for somebody that that they are not in such a tight quarters that they'll never be able to get out of it. And sometimes we have to hold that for one another. We just don't believe that about ourselves in the moment. And so I really have had that, like I said, on my mind, because I think that anytime I get to sit with somebody and they feel stuck, I always I just excitedly see some movement there and see no, I don't think so. I know that you're not. And I don't necessarily know where we're going to look to see that movement, but I know that movement exists. And so hopefully somebody needed to hear that.